Welcome to the 7th session Internet Plus webinar series. My name is Jenna Malberg and I'm an Associate Program Manager here. And let's go ahead and move on to the logistics. So as you've seen before, if you've attended a webinar, your microphones and videos are turned off and we'll just be using the Q&A section, but not the Zoom chat. Today's session will be recorded, as you've seen today, and will be made available on our YouTube channel and our blog post. So looking forward to getting started today. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to our speaker, Brian.
Thank you, Jenna. Good afternoon, good morning for those that are attending. I'm very pleased to have you join us today to talk about the topic of unified communications as a service. My name is Brian Ladrido. I'm a program manager with Internet 2, focusing on Net Plus service offerings, specifically in the unified communications as a service space. I started with Internet 2 in Q2 of this year, but I've known about and participated in Internet 2 since the late 90s, early 2000s. The institution that I worked for at the time was pivoting from Verizon-based Centrex services to premise-based VoIP, and that created opportunities to participate in the Internet 2 voice over IP and SIP working groups. Prior to joining Internet 2, this year, I was leading an effort to migrate that same institution from a 22,000 endpoint premise-based installation that was spread out over 24 campuses to a UCaaS solution. I've spent 24 years in higher education and 6 years in the private sector, focused on infrastructure engineering for networks and security, and as a subject matter expert in unified communications and multimedia design for teaching and learning spaces. I've been fortunate to be able to lead enterprise implementations and integrations of Cisco Communications Manager, WebEx calling app, Microsoft Teams, and Zoom. I have a master's degree in enterprise architecture from Penn State and a specific interest in service management and project management. You'll see from my speaker slide that I've included a few waypoints from my technology journey, and I hope that it evokes a little nostalgia in you and perhaps excitement about how far we've come on this UC journey. I'll draw specific attention to my Palm 7 personal digital assistant and the original BlackBerry. Today, I'll be joined by a co-presenter who'll share about his experience using one of the Net Plus UCaaS service offerings. Douglas Bragg from Rosalind Franklin University of Medicine and Science, located outside of Chicago, will talk about his institution's Net Plus Clearspan experience. In the audience, I'm joined by representatives from the service providers for the service offerings in the portfolio. Jonathan Jacobson, Scott Pullman, Dalton Curry, and Matt Kensley are here from Lumen. Steve Anderson from Clearspan, and Scott Cruikshank from Zoom. So let's hop right into our discussion about UCaaS. It wouldn't be an as-a-service conversation without a word cloud. So UCaaS as a service offering began in early part of the 2010s, and it was driven by a number of factors. One of those being the rise of virtual machines and cloud computing. Another being advancements in internet infrastructure and ISP connectivity options, as well as the demand for more flexible and scalable communication solutions. Some early examples of UCaaS were Cisco's hosted unified communication services called HUX, Ring Central, 8x8, and Skype for Business. To further set the stage for the conversation, I thought it might be helpful to highlight the differences in UCaaS or CPaaS. Use cases for UCaaS in higher education really focus on campus-wide communications and collaboration tools, distance learning and delivery of hybrid classes, as well as scalability, flexibility, and cost efficiency. Use cases for CPaaS or communication platform as a service focus on student portals and apps, notifications and alerts, application development for e-learning tools, as well as event management. And the table that I'm presenting highlights some of the key differences between the two as-a-service offerings. The Internet 2 Net Plus service offerings today are focused specifically in the UCaaS space. Now that we have some definition around the topic, let's talk about the Net Plus portfolio. Today's webinar will focus specifically on the Net Plus UCaaS service providers. Again, Lumen Collaboration and Unified Communication Services, Clearspan Connected, and Zoom Video Communications. The intent would be to highlight how each service provider addresses the unique communication needs of higher education in a secure and feature-rich way, and also to provide some timely updates on each provider's Net Plus agreement. For each provider, we'll be covering the following. We're going to provide just a service provider overview or a company overview. We'll talk a little bit about their service offerings, and then we'll talk specifically around the Net Plus program benefits, as well as eligibility for those programs. So first up, we're going to talk about Lumen Communication. Pardon me. We're going to talk about Lumen Collaboration and UC services. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Lumen, they started in the 30s as a small phone company, and over the course of 60 years, through acquisition, grew into a rather large phone company, and in 1999 incorporated into a company called CenturyTel. CenturyTel in 2009 acquired Embark, which at the time was Sprint's local exchange carrier, and they rebranded as CenturyLink. In 2011, CenturyLink then acquired Quest, and in doing so became the third largest telecom provider in the US. In 2014, Internet2 engaged with CenturyLink, leveraging their fiber infrastructure, their data centers, and their national footprint. In 2017, CenturyLink expanded with their Level 3 acquisition that significantly expanded their global footprint. And in 2020, Lumen CenturyLink did a rebranding to become what is known today as Lumen Technologies. Now, going through this with the Lumen team, they mentioned a couple of acquisitions that I probably missed, but these are kind of the high points. And it's my understanding today that Lumen is the second largest communication provider in the US, second only to Comcast. Now that we know a little bit about the company, let's talk about their services. The service offerings that Lumen bring to the Net Plus service portfolio are Voice Complete, and more recently, Lumen Solutions for Zoom, and specifically Zoom One. Before jumping into the features of Voice Complete, I wanted to bring your attention to the industry recognition of this service. So Frost & Sullivan, which is a reputable research firm dating back to the 1960s, is known for providing valuable insights and analysis across various industries. In 2023, they recognized Lumen's Voice Complete SIP trunking service with the award of Competitive Strategy Leadership. They are identified as best in class for this service offering, and specifically based on the criteria of the solution strategy effectiveness, the competitive differentiation, customer purchase and ownership experience, as well as brand equity. The Voice Complete service is a SIP-based transport service for inbound and outbound toll-free calling capabilities. And while folks may think that voice as an application is dead, I'd ask you from a higher education perspective to consider perhaps that call center or contact center in your admissions office. Maybe that research survey office that makes outbound calls to do research. Maybe that alumni office that needs to do outbound campaigns for development dollars. Maybe that advice nurse that has that students need when they need to get healthcare or healthcare advice. Or maybe that 1-800-TICKETS number that students or alumni or parents are calling to get tickets for that Saturday night whiteout game. While it's true that omnichannel communication interactions with virtual agents and agents in chat and email queues have decreased the overall call counts inbound and outbound at an institution, phone numbers are still listed in the Contact Us section of web pages for most critical business offices at a university or college. The award-winning Voice Complete service is characterized by the following features. One is it's a cloud-ready, flexible SIP trunking service that can be delivered via MPLS, IPVPN, or dedicated access. They have the ability within that service to pool concurrent call paths, and that allows for flexibility to burst CCPs across connections and/or locations. Along with that, there's advanced 911 features in support of Kerry's Law and the Raybaum Act, specifically around supporting multi-line telephone systems and being able to provide 911 dispatchable locations to PSAPs. Additionally, SIP or TDM connectivity are supported, which might be useful in a hybrid environment or support a phased migration, as well as interoperability with legacy PBX systems to preserve existing investment or again to support hybrid or phased migration use cases. Last item is around UC and C options, and that's the ability within the service of Voice Complete to support delivery of UCaaS solutions like Zoom, WebEx, or Microsoft Teams. Additional features that I'll expound on are the ability to support voice encryption using TLS or transport layer security and SRTP, specifically to support encryption and message authentication and integrity. Business continuity and disaster recovery features are part of Voice Complete, whether that be at the applicational level or across geographical sites. Again, E911 support for nomadic and mobile workforce. Standard VoIP codec support for G711 and lower bandwidth G729, as well as T38 fax support. Voice Complete, as it's built, also provides the opportunity for optioned bundled minute pricing plans. And that's reflected in the Net Plus agreement that we can provide details on if you're interested. But additionally, the Voice Complete service allows for streamlined network management through circuit rationalization and consolidation. So with a comprehensive feature set like that, it's clear why the service offering was recognized by Frost & Sullivan. If you have specific questions about Voice Complete, I'd ask that you hold them to the end or add them to the Q&A webinar pod so that we can address those with the assistance of the service provider. I'm going to pivot the conversation now to the Lumen solutions for Zoom. So in 2023, Lumen and Internet 2 Net Plus amended the existing Lumen contract to include services beyond trunking and transport. Lumen Solutions for Zoom became a service offering, and Zoom Phone service was added to the contract, allowing for one-stop shopping to meet an institution's UCaaS needs. So Zoom One is a brand new offering, and it's an offering that combines persistent chat, phone, meetings, whiteboard, webinar, and events into a single, secure, scalable, and easy-to-use package. Zoom bundles everything needed to communicate and collaborate with internal and external teams, have face-to-face interactions over video, place a call from your mobile device, brainstorm on a whiteboard, and send files over chat, all from a single solution. Zoom One's simple pricing minimizes the need for add-ons and makes it easy to support your customers' business needs now and into the future. But customers benefit from more ways to connect, collaborate, and engage in one seamless automated user experience. Along with a feature-rich cloud system, Lumen has a number of connectivity options for customers to choose from with Zoom Phone. And I'll expand on those in the next slide. But with the Zoom Phone, the capabilities include a full-featured PBX, a cloud PBX capable of domestic and international PSTN, as well as seamless workflow integration with Zoom meetings. There's centralized management. So those of you that are admins know the value of having a unified admin cockpit for single point of administration, call detail reporting, analytics, and monitoring. The solution is secure and reliable with QoS delivered by an adaptive rate codec. There's end-to-end encryption. It's distributed over global data centers and delivers secure high-definition voice. The solution also provides support for a robust hardware ecosystem. So the broad set of hardware options from handsets to analog devices and edge infrastructure like session border controllers. As far as connectivity options, if a customer has existing voice, then Lumen can still help the customer with Zoom Phone Pro licensing using a bring your own carrier model. The customers in this type of scenario have three main options. They have what's called direct peering using Lumen's Voice Complete product. So in this model, Voice Complete trunks will be set up directly with a Zoom Phone cloud. Customers can rest easy knowing that Lumen will handle the heavy lifting between Zoom and Lumen to get the infrastructure and routing set up. The second option is cloud peering through a virtual session border controller. In this model, customers can leverage their existing PSTN architecture and connect to Lumen's cloud SBC. These cloud SBCs have dedicated peering connections that route calls to Zoom. And the third option is premised peering through an on-premise session border controller. So customers that have on-premise SBCs will connect SIP trunks to the Zoom phone cloud, and customers' on-premise infrastructure will route those calls between the SBC and Zoom over a dedicated SIP trunk. This next slide talks about a service called Lumen SIP Connected Audio, and this is in support of integrated audio and web conferencing services, and customers can tap into that using this. SIP Connected Audio is an audio conferencing transport service that includes inbound and outbound PSTN or supported IP access services for conferencing or collaboration that take place in virtual meetings and applications through the UC&C platform. Simply put, Lumen's access to the UC platform bridges architectures that connect businesses to the cloud for meetings, and that enables an integrated audio and web conferencing solution, including a full range of calling options. Calls in this scenario traverse the Lumen network and infrastructure, and customers can leverage this service for global calling, giving them a worldwide footprint. This next slide talks about managed UC&C cloud services. It's a suite of services, including management of the customer's cloud session border controllers, reporting and analytics for UC&C solutions, and management of telephone numbers and tenant cloud collaboration and instance services. For some Lumen customers, managed services is a good fit, and features like data collection and analytics have become one of the most essential services provided in this option. I know from personal experience as a UC admin that the advanced telemetry, analytics, and dashboarding that come with migrating to UCaaS made my job a lot easier. Previous experience with premise-based tools required data gathering via multiple tools and then data stitching all that together to provide a comprehensive view of the environment that was time-consuming and sometimes never a C-level artifact or deliverable to kind of give a true picture of what's happening in your UC environment. This gets even harder if you're supporting a hybrid multi-vendor environment over a phased migration. So something to consider. Along with managed services, Lumen also offers UC&C professional services. The difference between the managed services and the UC&C professional services is that the managed professional services does a deep dive into the customer requirements and then makes recommendations for how that might support a migration or how their service may align with what your use cases are, where the Lumen's UC&C professional services are designed to help customers with setup post-sale. You can see that UC&C is based on flat rate packaging, so a customer can right size based on their UC deployment. And they also, as you see at the bottom, have a custom deployment package if the standard and premium enterprise don't align with the size of your organization or what you're trying to do in your space. So in summary, the Net Plus service offerings are Lumen Voice Complete, which is the trunking and transport service, and then Lumen Zoom Solutions, and specifically Zoom One as a bundled service. Moving on, as far as the Internet 2 program, Net Plus program for Lumen, there's a pre-negotiated contract, again, that was amended last year that is tailored for higher ed research, allowing for ease of procurement. There's an alignment with the Internet 2 templated customer agreement, and then there's custom Internet 2 member pricing for both Voice Complete services and the Zoom One UC services. As far as program eligibility, today the program has 38 subscribers, and the eligibility criteria is listed. My understanding from talking with our Lumen team is that last bullet about mutually agreed upon parties, the spirit of that is really to allow the most flexibility in making their service offering available. So if you don't think you fit one of the above criteria, we can have a conversation to see what your eligibility might be. Again, if you have questions about Voice Complete or Lumen solutions for Zoom, please add those to the Q&A pod or hold them until the Q&A session at the end. I've included some references for your review. The slide deck and recording will be available soon after the session. Those point primarily to the Internet 2 link for Lumen, and then Lumen's professional services pages for managed and UC&C professional services. If you have any questions specifically about it, you can always email netplus@internet2.edu. That email will come to me, and then we can huddle and have some dialogue around what your requirements are. Take a moment to pause for you to add any questions you might have about those two services to your the Q&A pod. And then we'll go ahead and continue on. We have one service down. We have two more to go. The next service that we're going to talk about is Clearspan's Unified Communication Service. And Clearspan powers ubiquitous unified communication solutions that help the world's largest organizations digitally transform the way they work. So this slide is maybe not as busy as the Lumen slide in terms of growth and acquisition, in terms of how they became the company they are today. But the Clearspan as a company starts all the way back in the 90s with a company called Astra. Astra acquired the Meridian portfolio from Nortel, if any of you guys are familiar with Nortel and Meridian business sets, in 2003. In 2015, Mitel acquired Astra. And then somewhere in between 2015, 2016, Astra was added to the NetPlus portfolio for Internet 2. As recently as 2020, Mitel created a carve-out for Clearspan, and Clearspan kind of became its own entity. And then in 2021, NetPlus service, Internet 2 NetPlus service is kind of branded a service called Voice in the Cloud, and that was kind of marrying together the transport services provided by Lumen's Voice Complete and the Clearspan endpoint services that are provided in their unified communications soft PBX solution. So that's a little bit about how Clearspan came into the portfolio and how they started as a company. So they've been a product offering for us since 2021 in the form in which you would consume it from the Internet 2 NetPlus services site. And so Clearspan is a purpose-built for enterprise deployments. It has a very easy administrative interface to navigate for those that are deploying it, and it's integrated with Internet 2 national networks. The UC solution offers flexibility to integrate both modern and legacy business applications and infrastructure. And some of the unique feature sets that are worth highlighting are an advanced call routing capability, a support for a wide range of desk and mobile clients. Embedded in the service also is the ability for virtual meeting rooms, integrated messaging, contact center capabilities, as well as third-party collaboration tool integration, specifically Teams, WebEx, and Ping. And you'll see Ping is in the center of the cloud there. Ping is a soft client that is available through the Clearspan Unified Communication Service. It's a full-featured soft client, much like you would see with a Teams phone client or a Zoom phone client or a WebEx calling app client. Ping is brandable and customizable for your institution. And it's a feature-rich soft client. It has all the communication tooling that you might come to expect from an enterprise UCaaS solution. As far as the third-party integration with Teams, one thing I would note is that that Teams integration is an integration that is native, in meaning that there's no professional services or SBCs required for that. My understanding is that it would support chat and video, queuing, faxing, and multimedia messaging with that integration to Teams. Of note is a roadmap item for Q2 of 2025, and that's a federation capability with Teams and Ping. And so what that would do would allow for support for Teams and Ping in your environment. So intercommunication and communications and collaboration which would be helpful in a hybrid kind of multi-vendor solution environment, perhaps more helpful than maybe guest access or external access, which we'll see in a lot of different UCaaS solutions. So Federation is on the roadmap for Ping and Teams in Q2 of next year. So at this time, I'm going to introduce my co-presenter for NetPlus Clearspan. Douglas Bragg has graciously volunteered to talk about his deployment of Clearspan UC. My understanding, and he'll probably put me in school if I have this incorrect, is that at his institution, they have 2 sites with 1,400 plus users. Douglas is a enterprise network manager for Rosalind Franklin University of Medicine and Science. So I'm going to go ahead and advance the slide here and ask Douglas to go off mute, and you have the floor, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you can hear me. So the company I work for is Rosalind Franklin University, School of Medicine and Science. We are located in North Chicago, Illinois. About 20, 30 minutes from Kenosha, Wisconsin. I have been with the company for about a little over 7 years. And when I first started working for Rosalind Franklin, they had a VIA phone system. So we wanted to move from that phone system, from having on-prem, and move to something more robust, something more in the cloud. And we looked at Mitel, and they presented us with a very impressive platform that we thought was going to be great and good for the university, with HIPAA compliance, all kinds of redundancy built in with the cloud service. The first location that we actually put our phone service in, we have a Huntley location. It's Rosalind Franklin's simulation center, where they simulate real scenario, hospital scenario, emergency room scenarios, ED. So that was the first place where our Mitel phone system was deployed. It was easy to deploy. Their system that they use, OpEasy, where you are able to take an Excel spreadsheet with all your usernames and phone numbers, easy to upload into OpEasy, set up different types of controls of who can have international calling, what number use to dial out. So it's very, very easy, very, very manageable, very cost effective. Kept us from having to manage a lot of PBXs, doing maintenance on PBSs. And recently we have been deploying what is what Brian recently the previous slide presented, the Ping platform. We have been using that for a while. We've been using it. A lot of our users that have gone 100% remote have been using that Ping app. I haven't heard any complaints from any users about the way it works. There is texting in there. There is the usage of a private conference room, or you can have a group conference room. And something Brian did mention with the Ping, there's also a mobile app for the Ping as well, for your cell phone. That was introduced to us from Clearspan, that we have been using, and a few of us have been using and testing that app, and it's been working wonderful just as well, just as it would if the app is on your laptop or your desktop computer. Overall, I think the service that we give from Clearspan has been wonderful for the university. We've been using Mitel, which now is Clearspan, since 2018, and it is now 2024. And we have recently, a few months ago, renewed our contract with Clearspan. So overall, our company is very, very happy with the product that Clearspan has provided to us. So Brian, that's my presentation. I will send it back over to you, sir.
All right. So thank you very much, Doug, for going through your use of that of the Clearspan product. I would say that in talking with our ops manager for Clearspan for the subscribers that he manages. That I would just tag on to the idea that the OpEasy as a user interface for managing that environment is used for customers, not only if they're going to do self-service or if they're going to just enter in requests. My understanding is that it's and I haven't used the tool myself, but it simplifies its provisioning and management, and has multi-layer administration capabilities. So support for a multi-tenant environment, whether you're a centralized or a distributed IT, seems to be a great tool, and provides a lot of flexibility for those users. So thank you for taking the time, Doug, to share with us. And it appears that the Clearspan solution is right-sized for your UC needs and the size of your institution. I'm going to go ahead and expound further on the Net Plus program benefits for Clearspan. Again, just like the Lumen, there is a pre-negotiated Net Plus contract that is tailored specifically for higher education and research, and that allows for ease of procurement. Part of that contract as well is that there is specific Internet 2 member pricing that is part of the pre-negotiated contract. A timely update for that is that this year perhaps Q1 of next year, we'll move towards renegotiating that contract with Clearspan, and revisiting that to better align with the changes in Clearspan's product offering, as they've done the carve out from Mitel, and to just take an opportunity to look at what other opportunities may exist. I do know that one item that we did not highlight that's part of that portfolio of services that Clearspan offers is contact center. Contact center is a subject that's kind of near and dear to my heart, having been a contact center SME for Penn State. It's a pretty important part of institution as far as a critical business application, and so would love to see if that's something that we could make available within the existing contract vehicle. As far as eligibility, right now, like I said, there's 12 subscribers that are using Clearspan today in the Internet 2 environment, and similar eligibility requirements in terms of nonprofit. I think they're expanded more to libraries and museums as well as local government, somewhat different than the Lumen contract, but that gives you kind of an idea of where Clearspan is positioned for us in the portfolio. A couple references, again, Clearspan's unified communications site as well as the Internet 2 site can provide you some additional detail on the service. And if you have any questions about Clearspan, just please email us at netplus@internet2.edu. So that's 2 out of 3. We're on the third one. And we're going to talk about Net Plus Zoom to finish the conversation. So a brief history on Zoom, if you're not familiar with Zoom. Cisco purchased WebEx in 2007. If any of you guys have history with WebEx from the past, during that time that it was at Cisco, Eric Yuan left in 2011 to create his own company, which was Zoom. Zoom as a product became a part of Net Plus, as near as I can tell, sometime in the 2014 timeframe that it was added to the service portfolio. And as recently as Q1, Q2 of this year, the Net Plus and Zoom went through a contract renewal process that readjusted the contract as well as some of the terms in that contract. And I can provide a little bit more detail about that a little bit further down in the presentation. So I guess it wouldn't be a modern presentation if we didn't talk a little bit about AI. And I was fortunate to be able to attend EDUCAUSE 2024 this year in San Antonio and participate in a Zoom Lunch and Learn. And at the end of the session, one of the presenters summarized the product overview by commenting, "We didn't say meeting one time during the entire hour." And it's obvious from the graphic that Zoom has grown well beyond just a web conferencing application. Zoom Workplace is an AI-powered collaboration platform that brings together communication tools, employee engagement, productivity solutions into a single user experience with all the tools you'd expect to see in a modern UCaaS solution. One that we spoke of in the Lumen section was Zoom Phone. And as a telephony person, it's hard to be impressed by a soft phone UI or an admin interface. But the time I spent in the Zoom booth at Educause was a testament to how well thought out the product is in this space. And I'll show you an example of that in the upcoming slides. Worth mentioning in this slide, on the business services portfolio side, enhancements that are somewhat UCaaS related is the feature development seen in Zoom Contact Center and Zoom Virtual Agent. Zoom Contact Center is a complete omnichannel contact center solution focused on empowering the customer, the agent, and the contact queue supervisors, all empowered by AI. In this paradigm, customers can receive enhanced support and experience faster resolutions. Agents can simplify their workflows and post-contact activities, handling more contacts and advancing their skill sets. And supervisors have better visibility of their contact center, their agent performance, and their overall customer experience. Later this year, Zoom Virtual Agent self-service solution capabilities will be extended to leverage the existing natural language processing knowledge-based integration using a new or delivering a new AI virtual voice agent. So that's on the horizon for Zoom in this space. Second slide is just to kind of expound further on Zoom AI Companion. On the left side, you'll see some of the features that are part of Zoom AI Companion. So the ability to summary and analyze, query, compose and generate, brainstorm, prioritize, prepare, and recommend. I highlighted just the phone and the contact center column to show you what features are available in those. And the ones that I'm going to show in the later slides are going to really be in the phone category and looking at how Zoom Phone leverages AI Companions, summary and analyze, and prioritize capabilities to make the phone experience a little more intuitive and a little bit easier for users. So a short summary on Zoom phone calling features. Obviously, they have a mobile and desktop app that probably many of you experience just using Zoom meetings. But there is also hard phone, desk phone support in this solution. Some of the products like Avaya, Cisco, Audio Codes, Grandstream, Poly, and Yealink are supported there. There's support for traditional supplementary services like hold transfer music on hold. In the list, I think one of the just kind of native capabilities that I'd call out is call recording. So the ability to do native, call recording within a Zoom phone application without any additional software application platforms to do that. So I think that that's something worth calling out. The ability for a supervisor to subordinate relationship to do silent monitoring and whisper barge and takeover of a call where you might be coaching or in a training environment. I'm going to call specifically out shared lines. And while that doesn't seem to be a big deal, I know from having worked in the environments I have that shared line is kind of an important feature and one that I've seen some other UCaaS providers, which I won't name, struggle to provide. So I think that that's probably worth calling out. As well as voicemail and just transcription. I think that those are baked in to the Zoom Phone app, and you'll see a little bit of that in the future slides when I go through kind of the AI and the Zoom Phone feature. Additionally, there's some business application integration with some top tier products like Teams, Google Workspace, Gong, and also Slack and Salesforce. So that's really just the feature side of phone. On the admin side for phone, we see calling plans. There's calling plans for Teams. There's calling plans for WebEx calling app. There's also calling plans for Zoom Phone. And I'll expand a little bit on that when we go into Zoom One and some of the bundling there. They also support bring your own carrier. So it's very similar to what we talked about on the Lumen slide around bring your own carrier for Zoom Phone. They support phone number porting as well as device management. And all the traditional things you might see on the administration side, the ability to support auto attendance and call queuing, integration to third-party contact centers, and again, advanced telemetry with call control dashboards and analytics. as well as the support for enterprise single sign-on. So this is I want to just kind of pivot to just going through what I talked about before about the Zoom AI companion in a post-call summary. Again, from the slide above, it was around the ability to provide a summary and prioritize. So if you're on the left side of the screen here, you'll see my arrow just above the red button pointing to a summarize button. So right now, this call is active with Hannah. And during that call, I could engage the summarize capability by clicking this button. When the call is actually completed, what I would see in my workplace pod in specifically the call history section is I would see that call with Hannah. I'd have the ability to expand the call, and that would show me a short summary as well as some next steps. I could take then that information, I could share it, I could edit it, I could delete it. But I think that this is a kind of a small example of what can be done in the course of a phone call. Some people may not handle many phone calls, but you can imagine if you handle many calls throughout a day and maybe your task is maybe to log some of that in a CRM, or some other system of record, that the ability to go back and revisit that within a phone interface is pretty powerful. So that's a Zoom phone with AI for post-call summary. The next cool feature that I saw at the Zoom booth was around voicemail. And so some people say, well, nobody does voicemail anymore. I don't think that's true. I do think people do voicemail. So what I wanted to call out on this slide was the ability for Zoom phone with AI companion to do voicemail prioritization and voicemail tasking. So if you look at the farther left side picture, you'll see kind of the voicemail tab highlighted, and then a call out menu and the ability to kind of pre-build some categories. So if you could imagine that you work in the admissions office, and let's say instead of consultation request or billing question or estimate, maybe you had new prospects, transferring prospects, credit transfer, or graduate admissions. The ability to categorize your voicemail, AI would actually inspect those voicemails and categorize those and pull the ones that you think are important up to the top for you to process out of order or based on the priority in which you need to process them. So I think very cool, very powerful use of AI capability. The next thing I was going to show you on this slide was around voicemail tasking. And so the middle image and the second image are meant to go together. But what you see here is voicemail kind of in the voicemail tab. You see the ability to play the voicemail back. You see the transcription in the middle pane. But if I draw your attention to the arrow points to an AI companion kind of icon that says view task. If the person in the workplace app hits view task, what'll happen is AI companion will look through that transcript and bubble up what the important task was based on the context of the call. And so you get a task that then gets added to that voicemail, and you also get a confirmation that a task has been created. So again, pretty powerful, I think, for the ability to be able to do that without maybe reading through the whole transcription or a wall of text. The last thing I was going to go through was an SMS thread summary. So again, natively built into Zoom Phone, the ability to summarize SMS. So I know sometimes important details get lost in an SMS thread, and I know I'll find myself using the find tools to hunt down a specific part of dialogue that I've had with colleagues. The Zoom AI's companion summarization and analyzation feature can help you with this. And enhance the employee productivity and align with Zoom AI's companion mantra of work happy. So the ability within here, again, that Zoom AI companion icon down here to click, if I draw your attention to that, to summarize it, it will go through the entire SMS thread and summarize it, much like if you've used AI companion in meetings, and then actually put some tasks around that. So all that said, I just want to couch this with saying that, what we see out there for AI companion accuracy, the numbers have been around 95%, at least what I've seen published. I would suspect that would actually, if possible, get better. So just want to caveat that to say AI companion, while it's great, there's still, I know when I use AI companion with meetings, I still do proofread my transcripts before I distribute notes or tasks associated with that. But just wanted to make sure in summary that you understood with Zoom Phone, these are all things that are native. These are not additions or add-ons, that they're just part of Zoom. And it speaks to Zoom's commitment to building a product from the ground up that is AI enabled, not a bolt-on, not an add-on, but something that is natively there. What are we doing for time? 48. I'm going to try to go fast. The Internet to Net Plus service offering is just highlighted here. It includes the overall educational site license on an annual, a 3-month, or a 7-month renewal, and the premium add-ons are located or are listed here. The one that I want to draw quick attention to is Zoom One for Education. Zoom One for Education, just real quick, is a named user subscription that for higher ed starts at 250 seat count. It is set up so that it can be bought as needed or set up as enterprise-wide coverage. You'll see that the bundled things are there that we talked about for Zoom One, being the chat, the phone, the whiteboard, the meetings, and the webinar. And at the bundles that you'll see, there's a link for it here at the end, talk about Essentials, Plus, or Premier. So as you look at those, they all have kind of some differences in how they're built out. So you can look at those and see which one may align best for your institution. From an Internet 2 program benefits, again, a pre-negotiated license contract, and that is as of this year, that is inclusive of discounted not to exceed pricing for Internet 2 members. There's specific liability allowances in that contract for student or employee use outside of the scope of work that provide protection for the institution. There's income and federation tied into that as well. We have a Net Plus Service Advisory Board that we're hoping to reconvene in Q4 of this year, that would have us have some subscriber audience, some subscriber groups have some audience with Zoom product management. So that is in the works. Also in that contract is the ability to add options and capabilities directly into your Zoom instance. Subscriber count is currently at 73. And the eligibility is listed there, as well as some open language around folks that may or may be curious about how they may be eligible for the service. And that's really just a conversation between Zoom and Net Plus and you as a customer. I have some references in here specifically around the Net Plus Zoom offering on the Internet 2 site, as well as information about Zoom One in the bundled pieces that I talked about at the end. So it was a pleasure to present to you today. I appreciate you taking the time to spend with us to learn about the Net Plus UCaaS service offerings. At this time, I'm going to turn things back over to Jenna, who will enable the service provider panelists for any Q&A portion of the webinar.
Thanks, Brian. I am currently getting our speakers all set if they are ready to be promoted, but while that's going on, we can go ahead and start with our first question. This one says, can a campus use multi-factor authentication for accounts used for logging into Lumen voice service? So we have a few speakers.
That
Does
one
anybody
probably need Jonathan or Scott.
Scott is rejoining right now as a panelist.
This is Brian, and if the spirit of the question, so there's the Lumen trunking service, so voice complete, and then there's the Lumen Zoom One solution. So I think if the question is around the Lumen Zoom phone service, I think that what I saw, at least in Lumen Zoom Phone, is there is support for single sign-on, and then if your single sign-on is backed into MFA, multi-factor authentication, then I think that would support that. But if we have anybody from, is Scott from?
Yeah. Can you hear me now, Brian?
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Okay, yeah, I just got promoted, so yeah. So for the Zoom, or for the Lumen Net Plus SIP service, there's no user interaction on that, right? That's all happening on the back end. And then Dalton, Dalton is I don't think Dalton was promoted, Dalton Curry, but yeah, I think
He's there. I see him.
Yeah. So the interaction with Zoom phone would be handled by Zoom, all right? So how they log in and whether or not they can use multi-factor authentication would be governed by how Zoom works. So
100% they allow for that. So
yep. Okay, thank you.
Great. Next, we have a question for the Net Plus Zoom program. How is campus data protected in Net Plus Zoom for the AI companion?
I think I saw Dalton come off mute.
yeah, I was like, do you want Lumen to answer that, or do you want Scott Crushing from Zoom to answer that one? For a Lumen perspective, since AI Companion has a lot of functionality, campuses can choose, thank you, Scott, for coming on too. Campuses can choose what AI functionality is available, and there are some really granular controls that can be enabled inside the admin portal specific to managing that data. So again, Zoom is allowing for you to bring your own, LLMs if you want, as well as using their own dedicated model, which is ZMO. So there's a lot of flexibility there, but we would recommend that you schedule time with your specific account team so they can bring in those subject matter experts.
Thanks, Dalton.
Thanks, Dalton. I'm now promoted. Sorry about that.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, one more for Zoom. How rapid of an adoption of Zoom AI assistant have you seen across the schools that you work with? So this one's specifically for Brian.
Wow. So I'll answer, and then I'll let Scott kind of chime in if he wants to add any color to it. So I had a conversation yesterday with Jason Smith from University of Washington. We talked about this very thing, about the challenge of deploying AI Companion. And I also experienced it at Penn State because that became a point of conversation as well. And I think depending on the institution, it's gonna vary. I think it's gonna depend on the institution and how they're organized around their AI strategy in general, right? So there's a lot of different offices that needs to touch, whether it's risk management, whether it's legal, well beyond the technology stack, right? So I think that your mileage is going to vary. At least I know that I can speak for Penn State. I know that they just turned AI Companion on this last year. And that was after about, I think, maybe a 2-year process of looking at AI in general and then drilling down on that specific product and feature set with Zoom outside of any other AI stuff. And I know University of Washington, at least in the conversation I had yesterday, is they're using task forces, is what he said. But their goal is to kind of look at, I said, well, how do you deal with the back pressure of people wanting it and then you not turning it on? And he says, well, it just depends. It comes down to each individual use case, how it might be used, and then on the other side of how it's viewed in terms of the risk aversion or risk or willingness to absorb risk on the institution side of it. So that's as much as I know. Scott, do you have any idea of the take rate on AI across schools?
No, I don't have a specific. I would agree with you, Brian. It is a very case-by-case basis. And most of the times when the team has the time to evaluate the security aspect of how we protect the data. And then it's also a policy. It's looking at the individual departments, the information that is being shared that needs to be captured to be able to provide that, and setting the policy for the institution. So I would say we're seeing good adoption, and a lot of people are evaluating it and going through that process. But it does take time for for people to spend it and look at the detail.
Thanks, Scott. Okay, last question is how is Kalia handled in the Net Plus Clearspan cloud? Brian, would you know that one? We can always circle back as well and just provide the Net Plus email.
Yeah, I don't specifically know the details on how Kalia is addressed in the Clearspan solution. I'm not gonna put Doug on the spot, but if we could take that as an action item, I'm happy to. If the anonymous attendee wants to send an email to netplus@internet2.edu, it'll land in my mailbox, and I'll be happy to chase that one down for you and get you an answer.
Jim
Oh.
says
Oh, Jim from Clearspan's here.
here, let me go ahead and promote him.
I see him there. He just needs to come off mute. There he goes.
I think I'm off mute now. Can everybody hear me?
Hey, Jim.
Hey, Brian. Hey, Jenna. Kalia is handled within the core of the system. We have the application and services built in to the Net Plus core. If a issue does arise, we Clearspan would be contacted, and we would pull all the data required to respond for that CLIA event.